Imagine drifting across the vast Pacific Ocean. Not for hours, not for days, but for more than 9 months. This is the unbelievable true story of 5 Mexican fishermen who set out on a routine trip and ended up in one of the greatest survival tales in modern history. In October 2005, 5 fishermen departed from the Mexican coast in a small, open-hulled boat. Their mission was simple: hunt for sharks, sell the fins, and be back home in just a few days. They were seasoned sailors, familiar with the rhythms of the sea, but that day, fate had something far more terrifying in store. Without any warning, a sudden violent storm descended upon them. The waves, like angry mountains, crashed over their small vessel. Their engines sputtered, choked, and died. Their radio, their only link to the outside world, went silent. All that remained was a crippled boat, 5 men, and the endless, indifferent blue of the Pacific Ocean, stretching out in every direction. They were utterly alone. At first, a sense of cautious optimism prevailed. They were fishermen, after all. Surely another boat would pass by soon. Perhaps the Coast Guard, alerted to their absence, was already on its way. They scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of salvation. But as the hours bled into days, and the days stretched into agonizing weeks, the ocean offered them nothing but silence and solitude. The supplies they had brought for their short trip were laughably inadequate for an extended ordeal. A small sack of rice, a few stale tortillas, and a limited supply of fresh water. Very quickly, the gnawing pangs of hunger and the desperate burning torment of thirst became their most relentless and cruel enemies. The initial hope began to curdle into a chilling realization. No one was coming for them. With no other options, the men turned to the very sea that had imprisoned them for their survival. They were fishermen, and they would fish. Using whatever they could find, they fashioned makeshift lines and hooks. They cast them into the deep, praying for a bite. Miraculously, they caught fish, which they ate raw, their bodies craving any form of sustenance. When the skies occasionally darkened and opened up, they would frantically collect every precious drop of rainwater. Their desperation drove them to hunt whatever came near. Seagulls that made the fatal mistake of landing on their boat were caught and consumed, a grim but necessary meal. The sea, however, seemed to take a perverse pleasure in their suffering. Sharks, attracted by the scent of their small catches, began to circle their boat, a constant, menacing reminder of their own vulnerability. During the day, the relentless tropical sun burned their skin, leaving it blistered and raw. At night, the temperature would plummet, and the freezing cold would seep into their bones, leaving them shivering uncontrollably. Every single day was a brutal battle, not just against the overwhelming forces of nature, but against the creeping tendrils of despair that threatened to consume their minds. 9 months is an eternity to be lost at sea. It's a span of time to long for all 5 men to endure. The constant struggle took its toll. As the weeks dragged into months, the weakest among them began to falter. Malnutrition, severe dehydration, and the crushing weight of hopelessness claimed their first victim. Then another, and then another. One by one, 3 of the fishermen succumbed to the unforgiving conditions, their bodies and spirits broken. They were buried at sea by their grieving friends, their final resting place, the same vast ocean that had been their prison. In the end, only 2 men remained, Lucio Rendon and Salvador Ordonez. They clung to each other, both physically and metaphorically, 2 lone souls adrift in an endless void. They made a pact. They refused to give up, even when every rational thought, every sign from the universe, screamed that their situation was hopeless. Their survival was no longer just for themselves. It was for the memory of their fallen comrades. The psychological toll of such profound isolation can be even more destructive than physical hunger. Imagine the deafening silence of the open ocean, broken only by the wind and the waves. Imagine seeing nothing but the same featureless horizon day after day. The sheer emptiness is enough to shatter a person's sanity. To combat this mental erosion, the 2 survivors, Lucio and Salvador, developed a strict routine. They created daily rituals to anchor their minds and protect their sanity. They prayed together, their voices small against the vastness of the sea, finding strength in their shared faith. They sang old songs from home, the melodies, a fragile shield against the encroaching madness. They talked for hours on end, describing in vivid detail the families they yearned to see again. They spoke of the delicious meals they dreamed of eating: hot tortillas, savory stews, fresh fruit, their words painting a world of comfort they might never experience again. They spoke of the simple, profound joy of finally stepping onto solid ground. These small but powerful acts of hope became their lifeline, keeping their spirits alive when nothing else could. Then, after 9 long grueling months, when they were on the very brink of death, the unimaginable happened. Drifting somewhere off the coast of the Marshall Islands, in the vast expanse of the Central Pacific, a Taiwanese fishing trawler, the Cruise 102, appeared on the horizon. At first they thought it was another hallucination, a cruel trick of their exhausted minds. But the ship grew larger. They waved their arms with what little strength they had left, screaming until their throats were raw, and they were seen. The crew of the Taiwanese vessel spotted their fragile, battered boat. When the rescuers pulled them aboard, they were met with a shocking sight. Lucio and Salvador were little more than skeletons, their skin scorched black by the sun, their bodies frail and emaciated, but they were alive, against all odds. After drifting more than 8,000 kilometers, that's 5,000 miles across the entire width of the Pacific Ocean, they had endured. They had survived. So, what was the secret? What kept them alive when so many others would have perished? It wasn't advanced equipment or modern technology. Their boat was basic, and their tools were gone. The answer lies in something far more profound. It was their unwavering faith. It was their incredible ingenuity and improvisation, turning the sea from an enemy into a provider. But most of all, it was the sheer, stubborn, human refusal to surrender. Psychologists and survival experts who later studied their case compared their ordeal to some of the most extreme survival stories ever recorded. Their journey stands as a powerful testament to the incredible resilience of the human spirit, proving that even in the face of absolute desperation and overwhelming odds, the will to live can triumph. 9 months alone at sea, 2 men against the immense power of the Pacific Ocean. One of the longest and most astonishing survival stories ever told. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Would you have had the strength to endure what they did? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you found this story as incredible as we did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unbelievable true stories of courage and survival. Thanks for watching.